I don't know. We don't know. Anybody knows how that's going to work. Our capital right now is pretty well shut down. And when session starts January 1st, who's going to be able to get in and who's not going to be able to get in. We have that big old huge gallery in the house, and it's going to be awful strange looking up there to an empty gallery. And I hope again, once this election is over with, that we're going to have to continue to be cautious, but we're going to have to be a little bit more balanced on how we execute through the remainder of this pandemic. This is the people's house, people of Texas's house. And by God, if it's their privilege to access that capital, and we got to make sure to do everything we possibly can. Our Democrat buddies on the other side, now maybe by the time we send those Sleepy Joe packing, they'll get off all that crazy stuff. But in the meanwhile, we got a couple more weeks of this. I just hope everybody gets out and votes, and make sure that we don't end up with this socialist group coming in and really wreaking a lot of havoc on us. I know they say they're not going to, but we've all been around too long and have seen or heard those promises and seen the reality of that. So I think, the Democrats right now, we have a 12 seat majority in the House. They are working extremely hard, the Democrats are, to take that and actually gain the majority in the House, which would be the first time since, I don't know, Suzanne probably knows better than I do. I know Jim Bardwell does. I think it was what is his name, Rainey, or who was a speaker back then? The last Democrat speaker, Laney. Anyway, Pete Laney. Yeah. Pete Laney was the last Democrat. But they are very emboldened. They're already starting to call some of us Republicans, asking for input about supporting them as a Democrat speaker, and they are raising from New York and California just millions and millions of dollars, and so we're going to have our work cut out to maintain our majority, but hopefully we're able to do that. So that's kind of the general, look at things. When it comes to agenda type items, et cetera, that when we go to session, the first thing we'll deal with is our budget. We always, we have to, by statute, we have to have a balanced budget every 2 years. And every time we come back to session, the first thing we do is have to pass a supplemental budget, because obviously, some things like in terms of insurance, et cetera, cost more than what we forecasted. Everybody knows what's going on with insurance costs, et cetera. So I'm hearing probably about a $4.5 billion, number that we're going to have to make up for this biennium budget. On top of that, we're looking at, because of the pandemic and oil prices and everything, like we hear locally from our cities and counties where their budgets are off pretty good, we could be looking at about a $5 billion shortfall just in terms of our budget year over year. So you're talking $9.5 billion that we're going to have to deal with as soon as we walk through the front door. Now, my concern with that is, okay, the speaker and the governor, lieutenant governor, put out a directive to all the various agencies, probably a couple, 2-3 months ago, about cutting their budgets by 5%. Well, let me assure you that we're looking at revenues being down around 20%. So not exactly sure what 5% is going to do for us. So what we have to be as members very cognizant of is, you know, this bureaucracy trying to go back at some of the commitments we've made, in particular our school funding, our retiree programs, et cetera. They will be looking at everything and anything they can to try to save money or cut money. So we want to make sure that we protect the commitments that we made last session. One of the things, you know, in talking with the other group here on September 1, you know, I'd like to see where we're at on paycheck and what's that looking like in the next session. As y'all probably know, y'all are changing to what, United Healthcare in January. All right, and then 65-year-old and under will be on Blue Cross Blue Shield. The benefits are the same and the costs are the same. Drug costs are the same. So we'll see, you know, how that's going to pay or play in terms of, you know, your benefits, et cetera. We want to make sure that we're not backing up with this, you know, you change to United Healthcare. So y'all are going to really need to keep us posted as to if you're seeing anything more expensive or less service or things such as that, so we can hold their feet to the fire about this change. So let me see what else they talked about. Should be renewed. One of the things one of the members brought up is, I guess, the Humana HIPAA paperwork that they suggested it should be renewed annually with the new provider. So I don't know if any of y'all are having issues with that or not, but an annual update of the HIPAA paperwork in order to, you know, I guess when you're moving from one insurance company to another, that was brought up, and I haven't heard of any issues with that. Don't know if y'all have any issues with that. I guess local, in terms of local issues, you know, again, a lot of it's going to be with continuing to get past this pandemic and how we're going to, you know, help pay counties and local cities and keep school districts whole in terms of some of the added expense they've got as a result of this pandemic. So we're going to continue to look there. Y'all might have saw last week or so the announcement made by LISD Longview, where they're going, in it's kind of a story, but anyway, they're going with a program. They're going to be one of the trial sites to use this new rapid testing, where they're going to be testing their students and their staff that agree to wanting to do it weekly. And the theory is obviously trying to be proactive to the virus instead of waiting. We got to start shutting schools down. We saw several local school districts, White Oak is one, that shut down recently for 2 weeks. And you can read all kind of different stories about how this virtual, and I'm not familiar much about asynchronous, you know, or synchronous, whatever those terms are.
Asynchronous.
Asynchronous, thank you. But I mean, that's just not the same as having those children in the class with their teacher. And unfortunately, we're starting now to get data that shows the test score failures and all of this stuff. So we're really going to have to, you know, fight that battle in Austin and make sure we're getting the school districts everything they need. There's still about $250 million, I think, as part of this original CARES Act that the governor's sitting on that we sure need to use to make sure that all of our schools are kept whole during this time. So that any other issue I'm missing, Miss Sharon? She's over here hawking me, so I just got to make sure. Oh Lord, I'm more interested in hearing from y'all and what y'all hearing or seeing. You go ahead, Miss Barber.
It's the fear of the unknown right now. You know that. That's you don't know what's coming, and you don't know how it's going to be dealt with, and it's just, I know it's scary for y'all to be responsible during this crisis, and it's going to be hard work for y'all. We appreciate, you know, you working to protect, you know, what we have been promised, and I know that's going to be a haul.
No question. Protecting existing commitments.
Well, and along with that, protecting those things are, I know the last two legislative sessions, it's come up about defined benefits versus whatever the other one is. And, you know, we just want to make sure that that continues to stay in the retirement plan, is that we are on a defined benefit system, and that as the state legislature, or as they puts into the system, puts into their portion, as well as teachers and school districts put into their portion, that stays, you know, the main thing of how we as retirees get our funding and our
Right.
daily living money.
Right. Okay. And like I mentioned, I would sure like to try to see about having another 13th check for y'all too.
Or a cost of living increase, you know, that would be great.
You know, I kind of think last session, the general thought process was, you know, 6 of one, a half dozen the other. If we do this, it's kind of like a cost of living, but we just got, and I know this, but we've got some catching up to do, because how long has it been, right?
A long time.
Years or sometimes, I mean, some ridiculous number, but so I'm just saying, we want to try, if at all possible, you know, to try to continue to, you know, kick at this cost of living stuff, and try to get closer and closer to where we should have been keeping up all along. Just another installment, if you will, of that program.
Right.
Well, Jay, if you go to Walmart, you see a lot of retired teachers and administrators working. So yeah, it's hard to make ends meet for retirees.
You know, one of the last meeting where we could all still come together, we talked about, you know, the rehire of retired teachers, and I'm trying to remember the exact things at the school districts we're going to have to pay more or whatnot. Man, I'd sure like to task you and Mr. Bardwell, and let's look at that and kind of see what legislation we might be able to propose to, you know, do away with that. We want to try to bring retired teachers that are wanting to come back. We'd sure like to try to figure out what that is. So I'm not sure that I'm real clear on why we even do that.
Well, the big deal there is not to penalize the districts so they can afford to hire the experienced teachers.
Right.
And you know what's coming, Jay. After these teachers in these districts have not only taught their own classes, but then had to do the virtual learning, try to find the lost kids, and you know what the percentage is, and it's frightening.
It is. It's terrible.
I'm afraid we're going to face a huge teacher shortage.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to, like I said, we need to circle up and see if we can find, Sharon, where is there some, what's the legislative info there that we could go pull up and try to launch an attack on it. And who knows? That's probably another one of those 40-year-old deals.
Well, also, aren't you going to be speaking Tuesday to the superintendents? Aren't you
I
going to be at
think
that
so.
meeting in Union Grove?
Yes.
I think so, yes.
Well, that's a good place to find directly from the horse's mouth about that.
Okay.
Because that's something that they certainly deal with.
Well, we'll definitely need to bring that up, and I just need to figure out how to find that legislation that makes that happen.
I can search for it.
Okay.
A year ago, December, I went to Mike Morrison's office to give him the retirement education brochure when he was in Kilgore, and as they were hiring a new Kilgore ISD superintendent. And he sat me in that office for 45 minutes going through the details of that and showing me the math and what it costs to rehire a teacher and what the percentage was and all of that. He's very familiar with that and could go through it in
And I'm sorry, but who was that?
Mike Morrison.
Mike
He
Morris.
was the interim superintendent at Kilgore, former superintendent at Gladewater. But your superintendents on Tuesday will be able to address that for sure. And then we can go from there on whatever,
Okay.
whatever
Well, I was
we
just
need to
thinking
do.
that Mike Morrison might be a good resource to
Absolutely.
to learn all about this. Where did it start? Why do they do it? I mean, just
Well,
get
it
off.
was to keep the, to enable the younger teachers to come in, and I'm gonna hazard a guess, and I'm guessing. But if I remember correctly, it's back when the baby boomers were coming along and there was the huge blip of hirees, and they wanted to make sure that there were jobs for those young teachers coming into the profession. And so that's when they put that there, and the world has changed tremendously
Absolutely.
since then.
I mean, hey, our whole education funding system and everything, it's like so antiquated and old. It just
is.
doesn't serve the purpose anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I got that on my list.
Now, obviously, our number one, and we'll put on our red shirts and come down there.
I know you
We
will.
want to protect our retirement system. The way, just as Renee was saying, that's number one on our hit parade. And then number two would be to protect our health care benefits for sure. And then number three, someday, cost of living. The last one I think that they got was something like, what was it? $12 a month, $5 a month. Anyway, by the time you got through taking the taxes out of it and whatever, I think,
Well, and
you might could go to McDonald's.
No. I was gonna say much less get a 6-pack of beer, but I wasn't gonna say that to y'all. I know me and Mr. Jim probably think about that. But the reality is trying to remember the 13th check was sort of, I don't know, what was that, about 5% roughly of your retirement number. I can't remember exactly sure, but if we can do something like that again, I mean, to increase your income, then we need to try to do that. We've just not done that in so long. When was, you think it's 12 years ago, as far as when you saw cost of living increase?
I'll find that out for you and tell you Tuesday.
I bet you 10-1 it was like in 2011, because that's when, I don't know,
right.
There was some, they went after school funding, they went after everything in 2011. I guess they just got real short of money and they went after that. Yeah, let me know that. Okay, I got that. What else? I guess I could tell y'all some jokes or sing or something. Oh,
This is just a comment in general, not so much for teachers, but when you were talking earlier, Jay, you were talking about whether there's going to be a Democratic leader of the House or a Republican leader of the House. And I just want you all to be able to work together. I'm so sick of it being a they and them and us kind of a thing, because there are people who support you who are not Republicans.
Amen.
And, and
Hey,
because
I'm telling off myself, but I went and voted in South Longview, the Democrat hole. I mean, Mayor, we appreciate you coming and vote with us, but I mean, you're right.
Well, so I just hope that whoever is the leader of the House or the leader of the different committees, that y'all seriously not be so much, one party is for this and the other party is for that, but seriously come together, work together to solve these issues.
Let me assure you, we are nothing like what you're seeing on CNN and all that. I mean, you look at what with having a speaker like Nancy Pelosi can do to just make the entire process dysfunctional. I'm proud of our 150 members. We don't do that. We have our we have our good debates, and we have our ideology, they have theirs. But at the end of the day, we vote, and then we go back to working together on the next issue. But the big thing I'm concerned about, if we end up with a Texas House, everything that we've done with the Second Amendment, everything we've done with school finance and funding, they got a whole different take on this stuff. All the work that we've done on the issue of abortion, you'll see Planned Parenthood right back in again, and that would just be a travesty. So I could go on a litany. The border protection stuff that we've done, they're gonna pull a lot of that away. And I'm not just using rhetoric. I can show you examples that for my first 2 sessions, they keep coming back with that stuff every session. So now one of the big things everywhere is defunding the police, police reform. Well, I had one of the Democrat potential candidates call me and sure like to talk to you about police reform. I said, let me explain something to you. That's the worst terminology you could use. If you want to talk about police enhancement, I'm willing to talk to you about it. I mean, y'all know what these poor law enforcement people, what kind of money they make, which isn't a whole bunch. They need more and better training. They need more and better equipment. And so we don't need to get off into this, defunding or reforming the police. They need mental health support. They're just a whole litany of positive things that we can do to help our law enforcement. And that's now, again, come November 4th, the Democrats may get off of all that. That was just all trying to get rid of Trump type stuff. But we'll see. But no, you're right. And I have as many friends that are Democrat in my district as most people do. And it just from being, mayor and city councilman for, 17, 18 years. And I'm in for a good fight. But when the fight's over with, let's get on down the road and let's go to the next issue. And we do that in the House. We've not had any things like you saw today, boycotting the Judicial Committee hearing for the new Supreme Court justice. That was just absolutely ridiculous. So they're at an impasse on getting much done in Washington, but I don't see us that way at all. And if some people have asked me, what have you thought about running for Congress? Absolutely not. I mean, who wants to go to that kind of stuff? I mean, it's disheartening, and we've got to be better than that. And hopefully we will be.
It really is disappointing, but I
Uh-oh, somebody went to mute. Everybody's muted.
Something's wrong with her equipment and she fades out on us all the time.
Who was that? Was that Gail?
It was Gail who started trying to say something and then her voice faded out. And that's been a regular thing for the last couple of months.
Gail's
There. Oh, I see your picture. Can you hear us, Gail?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I'm getting her.
okay. Have you heard anything about
You still there, Gail?
Gail, you're continuing to fade out.
Yeah.
Maybe write it in the chat.
Well, Jay,
What?
don't you think this is a rainy day?
In terms of,
The rainy day fund?
oh, let me tell you about the rainy day fund. Good point. So we hit the rainy day fund. I think we had 15 to 17 billion dollars in our rainy day fund. Well, we hit that pretty good. I think we've got somewhere, depending on Mr. Hagar's latest estimate, somewhere around 9 to 11 billion dollars. Well, like I mentioned earlier, we could wipe that all out just from the supplemental budget and the loss in revenue we're going to be dealing with. So, you know, we're going to have to get that figured out. Gail was just texting us something or screenshot.
Yeah, she wrote, any news on wealth? I've worked putting into Social Security since I was 16 and have worked a second job the last 25 years of teaching.
Right. Social Security for retired teachers.
Yeah.
No, I do not have any news on that, but that definitely needs to be on our target list.
Everybody keeps signing on to the bill in Washington because they know that it'll never get scheduled and actually come to a floor vote.
Yeah. That's just another one of those things that's just old. I mean, it's, you know, why did that make sense when it was originally done, and why does it not make sense anymore?
The way that Ronald Reagan put into place to keep us from draining out of Social Security if we didn't pay a full career into Social Security. So it goes back to the Ronald Reagan administration, according to a representative from the IRS that I've seen speak.
That's what, good Lord, almost 40 years old.
Rather than do a reduced Social Security, they just said no.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
Sharon said,
anyway.
yeah.
So those of us who are working after retirement are donating to Social Security in effect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You have to have 30 years equivalent full-time work paid into Social Security to not be penalized. So if you happen to have a second job that paid like a full-time job would pay, then you could claim both at full, both your pension and Social Security. And then somebody else said that it's about 5% penalty per year off of your Social Security for each year below 30 that you don't have. That's hearsay, that part of it.
Yeah. Man, if I'm paying into Social Security, I want my money. Okay. But some of all this archaic things like this, there might have been some sound, you know, reasoning back 40 years ago, but it just doesn't make sense today, in my opinion. I mean, if I'm investing, I'm like Suzanne said, if I'm investing my money, I want a return. I love the government, but I don't love them that much that they holding my money. You know, and then a lot of that money goes to paying for illegal aliens and everything else. Is just not a good thing. What else we got, ladies? Sounds like everybody's crickets today. Okay.
I'll have a list for you by
Okay.
Tuesday.
I got most of my tablet.
Gail sent a chat thanking you, Jay. For
I
your-
saw that. I just saw it. Well, I'm gonna let y'all go unless you got something else. I'm gonna go check and see how many people are voting over here in Gregg County.
Okay,
go.
I hope a lot.
I'll go walk over there and Miss Catherine Neely will run me out. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being with us.
All right,
and
thank
talking
y'all.
to us
God bless
today.
y'all. Y'all stay safe, okay?
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Thank you.
goodbye.
Bye-bye.
You want to play this golf?
Okay,
I gotta let's
so.